Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you are. Welcome to our Open Up live talk show. My name is Sivam Velayudam, and I am the founder and president at Voice of Men 360. Voice of Men 360 is a non-profit organization founded in 2020 in London, Ontario, Canada, dedicated to supporting men and boys through life's challenges. We align with the International Men's Day movement and its six pillars, which promote the well-being of men and boys worldwide. Open Up creates a safe, inclusive space for people from all walks of life to share their life journeys, challenges, and triumphs. The program airs Sundays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, featuring one guest per episode. However, time to time, it depends on our guest time zone. We change the time. Today we have a little bit earlier, so we have a guest from South Africa. That's why we choose the time. Voice of Men 360. Actually, before I introduce our special guest for today, I would like to review our disclaimer. We would like we would like to remind everyone that Voice of Men 360 is committed to promoting peaceful harmony in all our interactions. The views and opinions shared by our speakers are their own, do not necessarily reflect those of Voice of Men 360. Please note that our content is not a substitute for a professional or medical therapeutic advice. If you are struggling with personal challenges, we strongly encourage you to reach out to a qualified expert. For questions or concerns about today's episode or any of our content, please feel free to email us at info@voiceomen360.org. Now, we have an amazing guest for today, all the way from South Africa. Before that, I want to give a quick announcement. Canada's men's and boys' health strategy. The government of Canada is engaging provincial and territorial governments, indigenous partners, and key stakeholders to develop a men and boys' health strategy. The goal is to create supportive and safe environments, challenge harmful stereotypes, reduce stigma, and encourage men of all ages to seek help when they need it. Improving the health of men and boys is a shared effort. The factors that lead to poor health outcomes for men and boys are complex and interrelated and don't begin in adulthood. So join the conversation. Your voice is important. Complete the questionnaire by June 1st, 2026. Organizations and experts are encouraged to submit their written responding to the questions. I'm going to share the link so you guys the audience here, you can go and then actually submit your input. Please do so. It's actually deadline is set by June 1st. Today we have an amazing guest, Dr. Charley Pietersen, founder of the Growing Up Without a Father Foundation, speaker, author, and a life coach. Um, Dr. Charley, thank you for joining. You are muted, actually. Go ahead now.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to join you here from a lovely South Africa.
Absolutely. Pleasure to have you. Let's dive into the questions, though.
Yes, sir.
Growing up without a father, what was one thing you felt was missing the most, and how did it shape who you are today?
I think very key from my side, growing up without a father was the presence of a father in my life. And, not money, not gifts, just someone who was there to guide and to affirm and, just to show that you're not alone. That is what I've missed during my upbringing. Are you there, Zwan?
I am. Thank you for sharing that. Actually, it is very important. How does fatherlessness influence a boy's understanding of masculinity and identity in today's world? Seems like a lot of youngsters, they are not attached, or they don't feel they are belongs to the society. So,
Yeah,
what do you think?
I think fatherlessness leave many boys, asking, what does it mean to be a man? If you never had somebody that was guiding you. Without guidance, masculinity is often shaped by the streets. You meet the other friends on the street that also grew up without fathers, the media, your peers, and those versions are often distorted, and equating manhood with dominance, aggression, and emotional silence. So to me, true masculinity is responsibility, restraint, and leadership with compassion. But many boys are never shown that, you need to fight for yourself, from a very, very young age. You need to make ways for you. You need to hustle on your own without knowing are you hustling in the right way or the wrong way.
Absolutely. The reality is that we cannot even blame the generation before that. For example, let's say in my generation, in your generation, and that even our fathers, because that's the way we grown up, right? So um, the same way it applies to the younger generation too, because they are kind of like, feel lost. At the same time, they don't have a real the leadership or father figure in their life in many cases, right? So it is very challenging time though. So do you see fatherlessness as an individual issue or something that creates a generational cycle within families and communities? How does this impact the government? I want to hear your word though.
Yeah, yeah, I can see all over. I've done a lot of research. If you go to the prisons, if you go to the prison, you'll find out, more boys will be more happy to send a Mother's Day card to their mother instead of a Father's Day card to the father. And more boys are growing up with hate and anger. So fatherlessness is not an individual issue, it is generational. It creates cycles. Absent fathers raised wounded sons. Wounded sons become absent fathers. Unless something interrupts that cycle, it repeats itself in families and communities for decades to come. You can see now how it's like a lost generation, because I grew up without a father. I will also impregnate a girl and run away like my father ran away. That is the norm that you find happening in societies that, hurt people.
Absolutely. That's what the my next question is from your experience. How does fatherlessness contribute to issues like crime, mental health struggles, or lack of protection among young men?
Good question. Fatherlessness, from my experience, fatherlessness is deeply connected to crime, substance abuse, anger, and identity struggles, lack of direction. Not because these boys are bad. They are not bad because some of us, I grew up without a father. My mother raised me and my brother without a father. But with the guidance of my mother and other anchors in our lives, we've turned out not bad, but lack of direction, not because these boys are bad, like I said. Any boy without guidance often looks for belonging in wrong places. That's where gangsterism are taking place. The gangsters will bring them in and make them feel as part of family. So you want family, you want warmth, You want love, you want affirmation. And most of the time, you get that in the streets. You get that from wrong people. That's why it's a big, big problem if fathers are not there in the lives of their children.
Well, one of the realities that when we talk about positive masculinities is that even though there are fathers out there, they are doing so much for their families, for their kids, children. But at the same time, some fathers, some men, they are not in the capacity, or they are addicted to something, and then
Mm,
they pretty much lost their life, right? Meaning they are not a positive male figure in the family settings, right? So
mm,
sometimes it feels other way around, that what, even though we have a father physically, but it's not presently
yeah.
there, right? So sometimes some kids may think, okay, what, it's better than having a male figure, father figure is not really a father figure, but it's just for the name, for the sake of name.
Mm,
So it's having a fatherlessness is better than having a father. You know
mm.
what I mean? So it is very
Yeah,
critical, though.
it is because we call them the present absent fathers. They are there, but they are actually not there. And you know what is also happening is that you rather go outside where you find somebody show you more love and more warmth than a father that is only there abusing you. You know, like I had a session, a workshop one day with boys, and the one boy came to me and he said he hates his father. And I said to him, but why? Can we ever forgive him? He said, no. The same father that is there raped my mother before I was conceived. So after he raped my mother, he took my mother in and they raised me, but he's still abusing us. So you find that part of fathers that are really, we call them the deadbeat fathers. But then you'll find those fathers that really play their part and that really want their children to live in a society that are free, and fair. So it's very, very difficult for fathers. Like when I met my father, I was 21 and I made a decision saying that, for the first time I met him when I was 21 years old. And I said to myself, I just want to find out where do I come from because we are sitting with an identity problem when we grow up without fathers. You don't know who you are. So I discovered myself and I said, you know what, I'm going to forgive my father, but I'm not going to, make that situation determine my life because my father is not me and I am not my father. So we reach out to our fathers, but some of them don't want to open the door towards fatherless kids. And that's where rejection, animosity, and anger comes from.
Well, that's another stigma in the society, and that's the way we grown up. Seeing, witnessed, experienced a lot of cases, stories actually,
Mm,
in and around the community, society, right? Because some sort of parents, even if we're contributing to those situations, but on the other hand, they are genuine people, and then they are looking for some places to be
exactly.
belonging, right? So we cannot ignore, we cannot avoid, right? So, what role should governments play in addressing fatherlessness, prevention, intervention, or support system in this case?
You see, we need to understand that government cannot be always there, and government didn't father us. So, what government can do to prevent this, they need to strengthen families, responsible fatherhood programs. They need to run their programs in their departments. Intervention like mentorship, youth development, school-based support. We need to start at the school level educating, the kids, and educating future fathers and future mothers, because fathers cannot be fathers without mothers. So support system like the mental health, we need to have good mental health services and community initiatives, because like I said in my opening, government cannot replace what a father needs to provide. It can only support the environment where fathers and mentors can thrive. So government, really, we need to strengthen it at grassroots levels. My saying is that the biggest social ill in this world, it's fatherlessness. That is the biggest root cause of everything, because out of fatherlessness we get teenage pregnancies, we get gangsters that are youngsters that are growing up without fathers become gangsters. They become all these evil things, that society is giving them because of the lack of a father. So I feel government must work hand in hand together and implement this in schools. That's what I'm trying to get here in South Africa, and say, let's have a program to show people the root cause of fatherlessness and how can we prevent it. Because if you can do it at school level, you will really change the whole structure. Churches, communities, and everyone must be part of this. Programs must be put in place for single mothers, because single mothers are struggling to raise, kids without fathers.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's a real challenge. Many parents, especially single mothers, genuinely they are struggling. But even though in the society we don't see it that much, but there are moments. There are many women out there on the other side. It seems to be they are okay. They are doing so and so, but inside in reality it's really hard, because when
Yeah.
it comes to adolescent and some situation, they don't know how to handle boys though.
Mm,
I
mm.
mean, they cannot even the boys cannot share some um, you know personal things with their mothers too. So it's very
I think something is wrong there on your side.
um, I think no. From my side is working fine. I think it's in your side is frozen. I can see that, Charlie.
Okay. I've written this book, Boy Child You Met. It's a book about, I just want to say that when we talk about single mothers, because the single mothers are struggling a lot,
Right.
it's an essential guide to mentorship and for the boy child. So here in South Africa, a lot of attention are given to the girl child, in helping and growing the girl child, but forgetting about the boy child. So this book, is trying to empower the boy child, saying that you know you have a future, you have a purpose, you are not alone, you are not lost. So it's very, very, very important, really, for governments to assist single mothers, to equip single mothers to raise these boys, because teenage boys are not like teenage girls, and we look at things differently than girls. So like my mother couldn't be our father also. So that's where mentorship came in, our uncles came in to assist, leaders in church, leaders in community. So what I'm also trying to start here in South Africa is that corporates must also get involved in mentoring the youngsters, because if you are a bank, if you have 20,000 employees and 10,000 of them are men, use them to go into the communities where they come from to uplift the youngsters in their communities.
Absolutely. Couple of valid points, especially the one you just mentioned. Uh, let's say, for example, if a family, single mother raising girl and boy, and then the way they look at it psychologically, we are not profession, but the thing is that we can see some sort of pattern, some sort of behavior, between these two children, between the girl and the boy. And then it's very hard for the mother to handle that same problem with these two different gender, right?
Yeah.
So that's the whole point, or the main point, that missing a lot of time. At the same time, the children, they don't know how to express, or they don't get the same kind of like or appropriate
Yes.
treating from mother, because one is missing father's figure in their life, and also
Mm,
mother is trying to um, you know try to cover, or try to as much as herself into replace father figure, right? So it's a
mm.
very challenging too. um,
Difficult.
exactly. So at what point, actually, what are some struggles of fathers, children, that society often overlooks or misunderstands?
Some of the most overlooked struggles on this road is silent rejection. You know, we sit with that, growing up without a father, ask yourself questions. Was I not enough? Why did the father run away? Why is he not in my life? Whose fault is it? And most of the kids and most of the children that grew up without fathers blame themselves for anything, difficulty trusting authority or love. You'll also find out that if you don't heal as a child, that grew up without a father, you take that to your marriage, you take that to your relationships, and it's an emotional suppression. You feel the fear of abandonment. You don't know how to raise your own kids because you never had a role model that showed you how to go. Many boys don't act out, they shut down. You'll find a situation, men don't talk, men just keep quiet. And when they start keeping quiet, then they react maybe in anger or they react in violence because they don't know how to handle this. So is that silence is often missed. So this is the hidden things of growing up without a father and also not having the healing in yourself of rejection, the healing of emotional suppression and everything because you haven't healed. So there's no way that a broken person, can lead a loving family and everything because that person don't know how it is to feel love.
Yeah, exactly. It's we had to. I mean, I would say that we need more education or more
Yeah.
awareness about those circumstances, because
Mm.
not many people understand completely the psychological issues or emotional challenges behind that, right? So
Mm.
it must. I just want to take it back one thing you mentioned earlier, that government, of course, they have to do whatever they can do, but at the same time, you cannot government cannot be there every time or every place. So um, of course, individuals, families, and other organizations, they have to take their responsibility and do whatever they can do, instead of expecting always, putting the blame on government, and then expecting they can do, or they will do it, this and that. So it is the male figure, especially positive male figure, and fathers, or some sort of male figures.
You have cut off again there.
I think your line is a little bit slow at your end, Charlie. Can you hear me, Charlie?
Okay, you back again. I can hear you now.
Okay. Your I think your connection is a little bit slow down. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. So, at what point does pain turn into a purpose, and how can someone begin that journey?
Is it the journey of healing now? Because we've cut off. I think healing and transformation. Uh, Pain turns into purpose the moment you decide what happened to me will not define how I love. When I grew up and said, in spite of me not having a father, will not determine my journey. So my journey begins with I've acknowledged my pain that I grew up without a father, but I cannot take it with me forever. So I have forgiven my father for what he have done when I met him, and everything. And I've also forgave myself, because you must also forgive yourself. So I was finding meaning into the struggle, choosing to become what you never had. So I've decided that is my purpose. I'm going to write this book. I'm going to talk to schools. I'm going to talk to corporates so that they can see that purpose is often born from pain that was not wasted. So I will say, find your purpose. And in that you find your purpose, you also find your healing. So the more I talk about growing up without a father and how my mother was there supporting me, guiding me, and everything, so I grew as a person. So I never used that to be my stumbling block or my challenge and everything. I use it as a purpose. Like I said, purpose is often born from pain that was not wasted. So the pain that you went through is not wasted. The situation where you find yourself is not wasted. Stand up and find your purpose, because there's greatness in you.
So, I believe, from my understanding, until you turn that pain into purpose,
Yes,
it's going to be there, and it will hurt you until you turn into purpose, and then make
yes.
it into meaningful life purpose, right? So,
And also acknowledge the pain. Don't sweep it under the carpet. Acknowledge that it is here, it hurts me, but it cannot hurt me forever.
exactly, you had to, well, you had to let it go in in certain ways, but you had to accept that first, and then recognize it, and then work on it, and then
Yes,
later on change it to purpose, so that
yes,
can be served, not only you but also the other people too.
yes,
That's a proper way of healing, from my understanding. Is
yes,
that right, Charlie?
yes, sir.
Right. So, if a father is absent, who or what can fill that gap effectively? Can mentors or communities truly replace that role?
Yes, definitely, because you know, not one fully replaces a father. We need to understand that. But the gap can be filled. Mentors, coaches, teachers, pastors, and community leaders can model consistency, provide guidance, affirm identity. It takes a village of intentional men to help shape one boy. Men must come together. Men movements must come together, and said, we're going to be mentors for these children. But what I've also picked up that some of the men that wants to help are still not healed inside themselves. So they must first get healing, because they cannot transfer their pain to somebody else. So it is possible, your biological father don't have to be there. But like I mentioned, the people, mentors, coaches, teachers, pastors, and community leaders can fill that gap.
Absolutely. Sometimes we say it, of course, one individuals cannot be replaced 100%. That's at the same time that the universe, it's operates in a different capacity or different way, right? Somebody else can be fulfill that space, right? Of course,
Mm,
even though if it's not 100%, but at least whatever they can. At the same
yes.
time, whatever we can get from those individuals, you know
Mm,
Yeah. So absolutely. So either it can be uncle, or it can be a teacher, or some sort of positive male figures in the
Yes.
circle. You can absolutely get a lot of things from them. Even sometimes.
Posi- the positive one, I like what you said. We need a positive role model, the genuine man, and not the one that's going to harm you further, and for his own intentions.
Absolutely, yeah. What does it take for a man who grow up without a father to become a strong person, present father himself?
Okay, I think we've break up again, but I'm going to just proceed. I think it's breaking the cycle. To become a strong present father, a man must confront his own wounds, like I said. First find that pain in you. First find that pain in you. Redefine manhood for himself. Commit to presence over perfection. Learn what he was never taught. Let's learn. There are good books from positive role models. Read a lot. Look up to men in your community that you see, yo, this man is really doing a great job. Spend some time with him. Ask him, because you don't need a blueprint from your past. You can build one for your future.
Absolutely, yes. I agree with you. Uh, there's one thing I want to ask in the same situation, Charlie, because lots of fathers nowadays, because of a lot of pressures, societal pressure, family pressure, and economical pressure, and so many other pressures,
Mm.
we go through on a daily basis, and then we are running after, any money or anything. But the thing is that how can come, or how can they realize, stop for a moment and realize it, hey, you know what, this is not, I'm not going anywhere, I'm running back and forth, and then how can that, as a man is coming from those circle and barriers, and then overcome those challenges, and then be a positive role model to the society or to the family and everything.
Okay, good question. I always said, as men, we also, one of my books that I've wrote, it's As a Man Arise, I am because of you. I believe, as men, we need to form a brotherhood, especially in small communities. We need to form a brotherhood where we can talk freely to one another so that we don't know. Sometimes, like one of the questions is accountability versus compassion. We must hold fathers accountable, but also understand that poverty, broken system, generational trauma, accountability say you must do better. Compassion say let's help you to become better. So we need, as men and as communities, try to help one another. We must not look down on other people that are down there. A man that is unemployed. I always say to men, sometimes you lost your job, you were an executive, but you've got two hands. What else can you do with your hands that can bring something in? So we need both, because one without another is either condemn or excuse. So we need to lift one another up, but never give up on yourself. Never look down on yourself, because the moment you give up on yourself is the moment that you're going to be finished. You have to speak life into yourself, speak life into your situation as a man that is unemployed. Ask for wisdom, ask for ways and means how you can make things better. Because if you think negatively, then it's that state of you that's going to be finished.
Absolutely. A lot of people, it's a human pattern or human behavior that we always
Mm.
blame ourselves, as soon
Yeah.
as we come across any situations. But at the same time, especially for men, we put down ourselves, and then we lost ourselves. That's why we see
Mm.
some sort of addictions and other substance use, and even
Mm.
suicide rate and everything, right? So it
Mm.
is very important, as you said. So how do we balance holding fathers accountable while also addressing the systematic issues behind their absence?
I think I've touched it. Like I said, we must hold fathers accountable, but also understand that poverty, broken systems, generational trauma, and accountability is saying that I must do better, when I move forward, but also let's help one another as fathers, because accountability and responsibility, how do I hold a sick person, unemployed person that has lost hope? How do I hold him accountable? But like I said, in my previous statement, is that you need to stand up as a man and say, I can do better. I am a better person. I need to look up to men that I can say, don't be afraid to ask. I always say, don't be afraid to ask and say, what, I need help, instead of going to use substance abuse or substance or alcohol or anything. Rather go to someone and say, can I wash your car? Can I clean your yard? That's where accountability comes from. But men, for men to be accountable is that don't sleep around when you know you cannot afford, a child or anything. And even the child that you have already fathered, the child must understand that, I'm your father. I've made mistakes, but I want to make things better. So we must not be too hard and too harsh on people that are already down and out. And but also, men, the solution is to stand up and ask for forgiveness and stand up and look up to your children. Don't be embarrassment for your children instead of helping them up, because you're gonna break them forever. They're gonna be broken forever.
Absolutely.
That
So
yeah.
I do have a few questions more. So I will come back. I do have a few announcements to share. I will come back. Stay there, Charlie. Um,
Okay.
so I gave you guys earlier about Canadian government announcement. So I'm going to share that link, and then you guys can go and then actually share your input. The Canada's men and boys health strategy. The government of Canada is engaging provincial and territorial governments, indigenous partners, and key stakeholders to develop a men and boys health strategy. The goal is to create supportive and safe environments, challenge harmful stereotypes, reduce stigma, and encourage men of all ages to seek help when they need it. Improving the health of men and boys is a shared effort. The factors that lead to poor health outcomes for men and boys are complex and interrelated and don't begin in adulthood. Join the conversation. Your voice is important. Complete the questionnaire by June 1st, 2026. Organizations, experts are encouraged to submit written briefs responding to the question. So please go, and this is a great opportunity for you guys to share your input. So this way, we can bring a lot of changes when they develop some plans and it's implementing. Um, Actually, I do have a few announcements quickly. The open up you are watching right now, it's normally we host it on 7 p.m. Eastern time, but depends on the time zone of the our guest. We sometimes choose to in the morning. If you are interested, please contact us, and then you can actually share your life journey with us. This way, people who are watching on the other side, they can get something, even your life story, or even one sentence or one word. It can make a huge difference. Open up a share. The live talk show is on Sundays at 7 p.m. Eastern time, and monthly men's group meeting only for men by men, second Saturday of every month from 7 p.m. To 8:30 p.m. Eastern time through Zoom. No recordings. please join through Zoom. The link is available on our Facebook page and group. There are no limitations on gender, age, nationality, or ethnicity. People from all walks of life can participate in any of our shows. If you want to, if you like to be a guest on any of our shows or are interested in joining our organization, whether directly or indirectly, please reach out to us. We would love to work with individuals, professionals, experts, community organizations, associations, corporations, government officials, and businesses. Phone number is 226 289 8784. Email address is info@voiceomen360.org. Website www.voiceomen360.org. You can find us on all social media platforms, Facebook group and page. We have Voice of 360. Please join our group and page even, so you can actually see what's going on a regular basis, activities. Other social media platforms are Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, VoiceOmen 360. There are more than 600 episodes on various topics, so you can learn, you can watch it. Please share with other people too. This way you can support us. I'm coming back to you, Charlie. So, can you talk about your organization and your book, Growing Up Without a Father?
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, it started with the book first, like I said, I started with the book Growing Up Without a Father. So it's my life story where I, share with the public about my pain, my journey of growing up without a father. And after that, I started the foundation, the Growing Up Without a Father Foundation. And that is also, we've got a website for that. So the foundation, this year will be turning 10 years in June. So we've touched a lot of lives, and a lot of lives and a lot of people's lives have changed through the foundation. We are not government funded, it's self-funded. So we survived for 10 years, without that, because like I said, I had a purpose, I have a vision, and my vision and purpose is to share the message of fatherlessness all over the world, to show that, all of us born without fathers are born with a purpose, and you can make a difference. To be fatherless is not a handicap, it's not a disability. It's just for you to stand up and make a difference. And you can even adopt another child that grew up without a father as a mentor or a coach to make a difference in their lives, because our foundation is more based on the positiveness instead of the dark side or the negativeness of a matter. So I've written 10 books in my whole thing, but my most important was is Boy Child to Matter, Boy Child to Matter, Growing Up Without a Father, and SA Men Arise. But I will say Canada Men Arise, because we share the same stories, we share the same pain, we share the same journey as men, mental health, unemployment. All the social issues that are hitting men are the same, but we can make a difference.
Absolutely. It is very important. I can sense that the passion, the mission, and the vision in your voice, actually. Can you, how are men, voice, and the community benefiting from your organization? Can you a little bit elaborate on that?
Yeah, what we do, we train the trainers. We train men, especially men that went through a lot of pain. We had workshops. We do workshops in communities. We go to schools. We go to churches. Some of the churches don't have programs for fatherless kids or single mothers. There are also single fathers that are also doing a great job. So we do a lot of workshops. We do a lot of talks. and we do a lot of visits, to men movements, so that we can inspire them. So the more we can, how can I say, the more we can grow, and the more men can come forward and said, I want to make a difference, I want to make a change. We will really have a better world and a better country and a better community, better schools, better families, and everything.
Um, Absolutely. It is very, meaningful work. At the same time, it is very critical for any nation nowadays, especially South Africa, of course. We can see a lot of broken families and separated families, and even single fathers, single mothers. It's really high ratio.
Sorry. Even in Canada, I've done some research. Even in Canada, there's a lot of brokenness all over the world. This thing is not a country thing. It's a global ill of fatherlessness. And
Yeah,
I think you'll share my website with your listeners and your viewers. Let them have a look at what we are doing, and if they have to support us, please support us, because we are not government funded. We are not corporate funded. We do this out of the love of changing lives.
absolutely. I already shared. I will display it a few more times, but I already displayed, shared your email address and the phone number and the website address for your
Yes.
organization. So whoever is watching on the other side, please go to their website and then learn more about what they're doing, and then see how you can help them.
Thank
So
you.
coming back to some of the questions, a very short one-word question probably. But before that, I want to take you back one personal question. If you want, but you can answer. If you don't, it's okay. So you were talking about, pain to pain turn into purpose. So you met your father, and then you didn't want to keep it inside. You want to let it go. Sometimes it's easier. Some people can say it. You know what? It's easier to say it because they went through a lot of emotional traumas and things like that. It's not easy to let it go. So they will keep it sometimes or forever. So, how did you handle those situations, like when you actually meet your father, and then, you know what, it's not worth it. This is my life. I want to take it on my own. But at the same time, you forgiving your father, things like that. Can you take us back, if you don't mind?
Okay, no problem. When I finished with school, I said to my mother, now I'm entering the man's world. Now I'm turning 21. I need to find out who am I, what my real identity is. So I even promised my mother, I said, I just want to know, I don't want anything from my father. I don't want money. I don't want anything. I just want to see who is the man that has conceived me and left me with my mother and ran away. That's all that I want to know and see. When I met him when I was 21, and I went with a friend of mine to visit him, because you need to have a support structure. And when I met him, he didn't even recognize me. So I have to remind him about who I am and where I come from and everything. And later he recollected and see, okay, this is my son. But I said to him, I'm not here to ask you for money. I'm not here to ask you for anything. I'm just here to see who is the man that has fathered me and left me and my mother alone. That's all. And when I looked at him, he was already also a broken man, a pensioner. He didn't have anything. And I said to him, you know what? I forgive you. I forgive you of all my heart, because you have to set me free. You see, forgiveness is like, if you don't forgive somebody, you are in prison. And if you don't forgive that person, you're going to remain a prisoner of that person forever. Our late President Nelson Mandela said, it's like you trying to give somebody poison to die, but you are the one drinking it. That is forgiveness. So I said to my father, I forgive you. I don't hate you. I'm releasing you. So forgiveness is so much important because forgiveness is not for your father, it's for you to be able to move on and to see life differently. This is who I am, this is how I handle it.
They're so beautiful. It's not every people can go through it because especially men, they don't go to their mom and then ask for, uh, you know, um, I want to go and then identify myself, find out who I am, things like that, right? But at the same time, this is very very powerful statement. If you don't forgive, you are basically you are in a prison forever,
Yes,
right?
forever.
And that if you those whoever is going through some sort of challenges and then keeping yourself if you think a couple of times if you analyze it, um, why do you want to hold it forever, right? Why do you want to hurt yourself, right? So think about that, whoever is watching on the other side. Just quickly a few questions, just a one word answer. We want to get it from you, Charlie. If you could describe your younger self in one word, what would it be and why?
If I have to describe myself, I was searching for the identity, direction, and belonging, because that is what most of our youngsters lacking now. When they are sitting there, you want to know who you are, where you come from, and what direction are you taking, and where do you belong. And that helped me a lot to shape my future, to go into the future knowing who I am and what I want.
Absolutely, yes, yeah, that's true. Who was a father figure or mentor in your life, even if unofficial?
Coaches, teachers, community leaders became father figures in my life. Sometimes it was even a simple man that I don't know who said, you did very well today in athletics, you did very well at soccer, keep it up. That mattered a lot for me.
Absolutely, yeah. You never know who is going to print in your life journey, right?
Yeah.
So be careful. Who was what's one symbol dad moment you wish every child could experience?
A father showing up for his child, just to watch his child play soccer, rugby, netball, hockey, or anything, and that words that say, you matter, you are loved.
Well, in other words, be present in a child life,
Yes,
probably. Yeah.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
What's
Don't bring
something
presents. Don't bring presents. Be present.
being being present? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What's something people assume about fatherless kids that's completely wrong?
What is completely wrong, fatherless kids, people assume fatherless kids are broken. No, we're not broken. That's not true. Many are incredibly strong. We just had to grow up faster. That's all.
Absolutely, yes, yeah, I agree. What's the one lesson, life lesson you had to learn the hard way?
What I've learned is that no one is coming to rescue you. You must take responsibility for your life. Your life is not a movie. When you watch a movie, you always find there's always an actor, a Rambo or strongman that's coming. There's no Rambo, there's no strongman coming. You have to take responsibility for your own life.
Absolutely. Somebody, I mean, everybody, we can try to help you, but we can try to motivate you. But at the end of the
Yeah.
day, if nobody is there, you are the one actually help yourself, though, basically.
Yes.
Finish this sentence. A strong man is someone who.
Shows up consistently. even when it is hard.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's nice.
Yes.
If you could go back and give your younger self advice, what would you say in one sentence?
Charlie, your pain is not your prison, it is your preparation.
Absolutely. That's so nice. That's beautiful. Do you think society is becoming more aware of fatherlessness, or is still avoiding the conversation?
I think society is becoming more aware, but still not talking about it and taking action and about it because everyone is scared. They want to sit one side. So we have to address the symptoms more than the root cause.
Absolutely, yeah. We see some changes. However, it's not fast enough. It's we need a lot of work need to be done though.
Mm.
Um, so one word, fatherhood,
Presence,
responsibility,
ownership,
healing,
journey,
legacy.
impact.
Nice. All right. So what gives you hope when you think about the next generation of boys?
It's there is a generation of young men who are choosing to be different. I've seen it. I've seen it really. Who are saying it ends with me. And that decision is alone has the power to change families, communities, and nations. So there is hope, and it ends with me.
Absolutely. It's the last question. If every father listening today could hear just one message from you, Mr. Charlie, what would
Yes.
it be?
Be present, love your children, love their mother, and love yourself.
Absolutely. That's amazing. Thanks a lot, Dr. Charlie. This is a very, very informative, and also it's very lively session. So,
Thank you.
of course, we have lots to discuss, but it's already 1 hour. So, I would say I don't want to say goodbye, but at the same time, you know what? We can end this.
Invite me to Canada. Invite me to Canada, man. Let me come and share the African experience of fatherlessness.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, we need people, more people like you, because we need as much as possible. We have to, change our younger generation, but at the same time,
Mm.
the middle-aged men and also seniors too. So that we can build a healthy community, though, in general.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
absolutely,
thank you so much for the opportunity to share with the
absolutely. Thanks.
beautiful and handsome man of Canada who's going to take this opportunity to make a difference and a change in the lives of their families and friends and the community.
Absolutely. So one thing we always ask, whoever is watching on the other side, please share with this with your contacts, friends, families, and then they can watch it. They can benefit from this. At the same time, we can reach out to more people. So this way, it's actually we want to create awareness about men's boys issues. So this way, we can reach out to more people. We can serve more people. So,
Yes.
having said that, thanks to everybody. This is a very, very nice conversation today we had with all the way from South Africa, Dr.
South Africa.
Charley Pietersen. We wish you all the best of luck for your continuous work. Please keep up the great work, Charlie. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much and keep well. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, so everyone.